Hello there and greetings. My name is Joseph Premanand and I am from Singapore. In assignment 6, I will be explaining the amplitude envelope using a synth called Messiah. I will also give examples and the musical context of amp envelope configurations. The Messiah synth is modeled around the Prophet 5 vintage synth. I chose this because it is simple and closer to the synth we used in the classroom. Okay, let's first identify the key parts of the synth. Here is the oscillator, the filter, the effects, the LFO, and the envelope. There are 5 LFOs which are hidden here and can be accessed through this button. In fact, these 4 buttons are pages providing different views of the knobs and controls for editing, LFO, oscillator, and the virtual keyboard. It would be interesting to explore all these controls, but because of the time constraint, I will quickly switch attention to the amplitude envelope, which is right here. Let us quickly recap what we learnt about envelopes. Here is a nice diagram depicting the various stages of the envelope: attack, delay, sustain, and release, called the ADSR envelope. Attack is the time it takes to rise from a 0 level to the maximum level. Decay, the time it takes to drop from maximum to the sustain level. Sustain is the level after decay. Normally, it stays at that position until the note is released. Remember, this is a level and not a time unit unlike the rest. Release is again the time it takes to drop to 0 level after a note is released. By using the parameters here, the ADSR envelope shapes the sound, or in more precise terms, modulates the amplitude of the sound. By varying the attack, delay, release times, and the sustain level, it is possible to reproduce sounds from various musical instruments, as well as create new and unnatural sounds. First, we start with the switch sound. For this, we will set the attack, delay, and release to 0 and the sustain all the way to 100. Energy is added over the course of the note until I keep the key pressed. This is representative of instruments like the organ. The start and the end of the note are abrupt, while sustaining the sound for the duration of the key press. This is an example for a damped pluck or strike instrument such as a piano. There is a rapid rise because of the 0 attack followed by a long delay. There is no sustain and no release, leaving the note to end abruptly. It gives a damped percussive sound. For a true percussion note, the trick is to leave the delay equal to the release time. For blown or bowed instruments, all of the parameters are used. There is an initial high energy attack, followed by a short decay, a good sustain, and then a release. First, let's look at the reverse sound. This is seldom used in a musical context. It is the same setting as in a switch, but we set the attack all the way up to 100. The sound slowly sweeps in and encompasses the sustain level before ending abruptly. Quirky Note, which unfortunately I couldn't reproduce in my synth. One where a long note sounds short and a quick note sounds long. This is done by setting the release time greater than the decay. There may not be a real use for it, but I guess it's up to one's creativity. There are other variations that can be created too. For instance, a sound pad that is great for creating background atmospheres, or sonic textures that can give a dramatic personality to a piece of music. For this, we can use a long attack time followed by a slow decay, a pronounced sustain level, and a long release time. In this presentation, we recapped what an ADSR envelope is and how to configure it to produce various effects using Messiah, a vintage lookalike synth. Hope you learned something useful from this presentation. Thank you for your time.